As a Rocket League player, I have always dreamed of having smooth mechanics and perfect decision making. And that's exactly why I spent hundreds of hours studying the pros and perfecting my playstyle, taking inspiration from the greatest Rocket League player ever, Zen. This isn't just one of those clickbait 24-hour or 7-day challenges that are just highlight compilations without actually giving you any improvement advice. Because in this video, I deep dive into how Zen plays in order to first, figure out how I can replicate his playstyle, second, develop optimal routines both in and out of the game for my improvement, and finally, put in the work every single day in training and ranked games. The first and most important thing I found Zen doing was playing extremely aggressively on and off the ball. This meant that whenever he was on the ball, he would create plays which very often led to goals for himself or his teammates. This was because Zen is extremely good at understanding what his options are. What I mean by that is that he is incredibly thorough in his understanding of what plays he can and cannot make in a certain scenario. The best way to get this type of understanding is to be in as many scenarios as possible and stack up the reps. If you have been in a situation 100,000 times versus a person who's been in that situation only 1,000 times, then the difference will be clear. So, to apply this, I would put myself in as many different plays as possible, both in my free play hours and in ranked games. I would go for all sorts of outplays that I never thought about before and experiment around a little bit to see what works. The change I noticed in my solo plays in just a span of 60 days was an absolute night and day difference. But earlier I did also mention that he was extremely aggressive off the ball as well. This means stuff like bumps and demos. Zen is constantly looking for bumps when rotating out after creating his previously mentioned solo plays. But off the ball impact doesn't just stop at bumping people. He's also extremely aggressive with fake challenges. I'd especially see Zen fake challenging his opponents a lot as first man, and it would give him or his teammate so many free balls that he could then convert into actual goals from his incredible mechanical brilliance. So to put this point into good use, I watched Zen's replays to notice which situations he would go for a demo and where he would just rotate back. I also took note of when he would fake challenge and when he would throw in real dives to stay unpredictable. I then applied all of this new knowledge to the best of my ability in ranked while focusing on one thing at a time. So one day I would focus purely on the fake challenges, and on another day I'd really concentrate on getting more bumps. The last thing I noticed from Zen was that his speed is actually often a lot slower than other pros, but he still dominates the game regardless of that. Since his debut season in RLCS 4 years ago, he has the highest points per game, goals per game, second highest assists per game, most shots per game, and fourth most demos per game in all of Europe. This inspired me to start slowing down and start becoming more efficient as a player. I repeated this one phrase to myself constantly throughout this period. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I would focus on this concept while watching his replays, playing my ranked games, and even in free play as I was practicing my mechanics. All speed that you don't use is pointless, and Zen has mastered the art of being slow and only speeding up when you actually need to. This makes it so he's actually incredibly consistent in his boost management. He's never really out of boost, and when he is, he doesn't stay that way for very long. This slow speed also allows him to get really good first touches and control the ball effectively, because he doesn't need to slow down a ton before getting his touch. So, to imitate Zen's efficiency, I started driving slower around the field and being more intentional with when I gain my speed. Not going supersonic just because I can, but rather speeding up when the play actually requires me to do so. This also meant being more intentional with when I used my boost and saving it when I didn't actually need extra speed. With these things in mind, I now had an idea of how Zen played, so it was time for me to decide on how I was going to actually apply this and become more like him as a player. To apply each thing I learned, I used this 3-step framework. Step 1, learn. This was the step that we kind of went over. I just watched Zen's replays with intention while taking notes of each thing that I would later work on. Step 2, I would set the goal. This was a step where I decided that one thing that I would focus on that day with full focus. I started with the big things and then went down to smaller, less significant things as time went on. And step 3, consistent action. This is the most important step because in order for me to actually benefit from learning and setting goals, I had to go and put in the reps. So in this step, I played ranked while putting all of my attention into the one thing that we chose from step 2, and then just doing my absolute best to follow it. It's important that you're incredibly consistent in this step because if you aren't, then these good habits just won't stick, which is why I never missed a day of ranked, replay reviewing, or mechanics training. If you do this kind of replay reviewing and you take your one thing, but you only do this once a week or once a month, you will not improve consistently. If you want these fast results, you need to be able to put in consistent effort. So now, on to the important part. What were the actual results of these 60 days? Starting from August 23rd, my MMR was 1380, which is about high C3, but in reality I was about a low GC1 level player. Roughly 60 days later, on October 20th, my MMR was 1712 and I hit GC3 for the first time ever. This is incredibly fast progression and something that I never would have achieved if I didn't follow the simple frameworks that I've given you in this video. So the biggest lesson that I want you to take away from this video is that you need to pick a playstyle that you like, that you enjoy, that you have fun watching and playing like, and then study that every day while taking your notes and then imitating the playstyle in ranked to the best of your actual ability. And this type of improvement is a cycle. So don't do this once and then just forget about it. It's a process that you need to continuously do to actually see progress. And if you're really serious about improving at Rocket League, I've just released my coaching community where I do group coaching calls where we analyze these exact pro players like we just talked about, along with one-on-one coaching sessions where I do replay reviews on your own ranked games to tell you what you're doing wrong and how to fix it. If that sounds at all interesting to you, make sure to check out the first link in the description. I appreciate you all for watching all the way to the end. God bless and peace out.